how does the Nikon D850 still hold up? So just this weekend, I took a trip to the Shenandoah Valley just to go out and enjoy the views and take some photos. And I wanted to take my camera with me, of course, to take some interesting pictures. So for this trip, it was pretty much an impromptu, kind of spontaneous type of thing. There wasn't really any hefty planning or anything like that. The only thing I planned in regards to taking pictures was the stuff I was gonna bring, of course, because it was a few hours away from where I am, and that's it. Everything else was kind of just a thought in my mind, like what I wanted the final product to look like, maybe exactly what I was hunting for, and all of that. So to start out, we began just heading towards the destination. It was about 3-hour drive away, but 2 hours in, we kind of had a change of heart and we decided to go to a completely different location. And that was when I kind of knew that nothing was really going to go as planned regardless. So that's why I didn't really stress too much about planning it. So we get to the first location, or we drive into the park and get to the first kind of overlook point. And I'm starting to dial in my settings. And with this camera, I really do realize one thing, that it's honest. Like, this camera is the definition of what you put in is what you're gonna get out, because it's difficult to use. You can't just pick this camera up, point it at something, and it just takes great photos. So I saw this question and I wanted to ask my viewers about it. And the question was, what do you use to take landscape photos? My setup is pretty bare bones. I only take a camera and a lens. I don't usually do too much tripoding or extra lights or anything like that. It's just Nikon D850 in either 35mm or 24-120. That's my setup. So let me know yours in the comment section down below. And if you're enjoying this, leave a like. That would help me out a great deal. And subscribe. 91% of you watching aren't subscribed. And I'm trying to hit 10,000 before Christmas. I got a deal. I got a bet with my mom, so help me out and I would much appreciate that. But anyways, let's get straight back into it. If you as a photographer don't know how to take great images already, this camera isn't gonna help you whatsoever. Like, it's just gonna be like, I spent all my money on this and the pictures still look trash, because this camera really is like that one friend that is gonna tell you the truth even if it hurts. And I feel like for me personally, that's why I'm so addicted to this camera, or that's just why I enjoy using it so much, because when I go out there, I know it's not just, it's gonna be easy. All I really have to do is stand there and hold the camera and the rest is gonna do itself. And granted, there's a time and a place for those types of cameras. Not saying that, you could never get use out of one like that, because there definitely is. But in circumstances like these where you just want to go out and just enjoy life a little bit, take it slow, enjoy the views, and just kind of capture the moment, this camera is perfect for it, especially if your skills are pretty seasoned and polished in terms of exposure and composition. So finally, after about 2 stops, it was stop and then drive around about 5 minutes to the next stop. So it was kind of just like a never-ending path of just stops. I finally end up getting my settings completely dialed into how I want them. So I was able to really get some good exposure once I finally dialed it in. But the hard part about it was the framing, because when I was taking the pictures, the exposure was great. Everything was kind of on point in terms of that aspect, but some of the photos really just weren't doing it for me. And I was wondering if it was me, is it just the colors and how it looks straight out of camera, or whatever the case is. And it's really funny because before I even left, one of the biggest key notes that I had for these photos, or really the only note that I made in regards to how I wanted these to look, was to practice with the cropping a lot more. So if you don't know, Nikon D850, 47 megapixel full frame camera, meaning you can crop pretty crazy on this camera. And as I just was going through some of these in post, I did some pretty crazy crops on some of them just to kind of see what the difference would be. And some of them were completely night and day. Like, I was honestly contemplating not even sharing some of these pictures because I just didn't think they were all that. I think they were like 4 or 5 stars out of 10, after my first draft of editing. And I'm like, you know what? I might have to hold off on these. But I feel like with this camera, it kind of just helps you out on the back end, because if you know the little tips and tricks that you could use to, use anything to your advantage, this camera's not going to cut you short. Because like I said, full frame, 47 megapixel, all the detail and the quality is there. And that's pretty much a basic necessity. And you just need to be able to understand how to manipulate that and just use it to your favor. So I feel like that's what this set of pictures was a lot more about for me, was just learning how to get a little bit more out of the camera and make sure you really get your money's worth, even if it is one of the most basic things. So my setup is pretty basic, and when I say basic, I mean it's pretty bare bones. Like when I went out, all I had was what you see in my hand right now. It's just camera and that's it. Camera and lens, that's it. I just wanted to carry really nothing at all. Pretty much minimal. I don't need anything extra. I just need a camera, extra battery, and that's it. The lighting out there was pretty good, so I brought a tripod with me just in case, but it really wasn't that serious, so I was like, you know what, I'll kind of hold off on that. But really all it was is camera, and this is a basic, a 24 to 120, so it gives you a little bit of variety and it gets the job done. It's not the craziest and most expensive glass, but honestly it kind of just goes to show that you really don't need a lot of stuff to take some really decent images. It's really more so about what you know and how well you can execute it when you're out there, you know, taking and creating your photos. But for me, this camera just really does it for me almost every time, because it's just reliable, it holds up, and I know that if I'm in the right space to be creating, then the images themselves are gonna look good, because I've done probably over 100 to 200 different shoots with the D850, and some of those shoots, some of the pictures were kind of lackluster, and I feel like it's because when you don't come prepared to do your best work with this camera, it's gonna give you whatever it is that you put into it. Like I was saying in the beginning, this camera is one of those ones that is going to be brutally honest with you, and sometimes it can be a little bit hard to stomach, because when I was looking at these photos I took, the ones I'm showing you, it kind of hurt me for a little bit until I really started to edit and put in a lot more effort, because I wanted them to look good, and I didn't want that entire, you know, 6-hour round trip drive and, you know, hour or 2 hours spent hiking and walking around that giant mountain to all be for nothing, you know, because that's probably the biggest thing, is that you don't want to go out on a mission, whether it be 1 day or 100 days, and feel like you failed the mission. But with this camera, you're not gonna fail the mission if you're trained for it, is what I'll basically say. One of the things that I also do love the most about this camera is that it still can just stand the test of time, because me personally, I'm someone that's really big on just that quality aspect, and it could be quality in terms of just performance and also build, just ergonomics, just any form of quality whatsoever. And I feel like this camera, it really just checks off the boxes in any and every category. You've got great image quality, you've got great ergonomics, you've got great battery life. What really more could you ask for? I mean, honestly speaking, it's basic and it's bare bones. I know a lot of you probably shoot mirrorless and are used to all of these different things to help you with exposure, focus, this and that, but I mean, sometimes it is good to just take a step back, breathe for a second, and dial in your settings manually with no extra assistance. It kind of gives you a little extra joy, and that little extra, I worked harder for it, and I feel like that's what makes you enjoy your photos a lot more in general. At least that's just me speaking. So the biggest thing with this camera that I love about it is just that level of confidence, like that level of you just being able to put the camera down knowing that you got something and not feeling like you could easily take more, or that you need to get more, or whatever it is that you got might not be enough. I feel like when you are really just locked in terms of dialing in your exposure and really just nailing your compositions, getting your framing just right, this is going to be one of those cameras where you're not going to really need to go overboard just to make sure you have enough good photos. So my overall thoughts on the Nikon D850 is that it's definitely a camera that is usable in this modern day in 2025 going into 2026. But I'm not going to yap too much longer about this. Again, I appreciate you for watching if you made it this far. Of course, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. We're trying to hit 10,000 before Christmas, and I would much appreciate it if I could get your support in doing that. But anyways, again, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.